calls to any network with Hutch Super All-in-One. Reload and activate it today.
Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasuni Balachandra.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Charathipan Prarachi, and now let's move on to the headlines for tonight's news.
US State Secretary pledges to assist without hesitation Sri Lanka's development effort. The President reiterates that priority is for Sri Lanka's independence and sovereignty in foreign relations. Curfew in the Western Province from tomorrow midnight till 5 a.m. on Monday. The number of those recovered from COVID-19 increases to 4,075. 10,740 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. Measures to maintain essential services more efficiently amidst the pandemic. A bag of food for every quarantined family. A revelation pertaining to influences of leading politicians on FCID investigations. CCTV scenes on whereabouts of several persons connected to Easter attacks. 223,000 corona-infected persons in Europe within 24 hours.
On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with local stories. US State Secretary Mike Pompeo says that his country is prepared to extend assistance for the development of Sri Lanka without hesitation. In a discussion with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, he has reiterated that sovereignty and independence will be given prominence in foreign relations. US State Secretary Mike Pompeo has arrived in Sri Lanka last night in the second leg of his Asian tour. He came to the island upon conclusion of discussions in India. The meeting between the US State Secretary and President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took place at the President's office this morning. Mike Pompeo, at the talks, he had expressed a readiness to act in cooperation with Sri Lanka to fulfill the economic development targets. Priority will be given for the provisions of weapons to the relevant sections. The US is also willing to uplift tourism industry through a systematic setup. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, clarifying on the foreign policy of Sri Lanka, said that it is based on neutrality. Sri Lanka's need is to produce loans continuously but to achieve a high economic growth. The President has reiterated that he is not prepared at any instance to sacrifice the sovereignty, independence or territorial integrity in international relations. He has also pointed out that China has assisted for the development of infrastructure facilities in Sri Lanka upon conclusion of the separatist war. The President has stressed that as a result, Sri Lanka is not enmeshed in a debt trap. Both parties have agreed to cooperate on issues pertaining to human rights in the international arena. Official talks between the visiting US Secretary and Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has taken place at the Foreign Ministry in Colombo this morning.
We have Secretary of State with us today. There will be many US dignitaries, even in the future, visiting Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a neutral, non-aligned country committed to peace, as I mentioned earlier. On that principles, we hope to continue with our relations with the United States and other countries.
We want the people of Sri Lanka to have sovereignty and independence. We want them to be successful. We want sustainable development for them. We think the United States as a friend and partner offers just exactly that. And we want that. We have a shared vision. Democratic nations always do. American private sector companies will see the opportunity that's here and come invest and train Sri Lankans and build up those communities too. These are the kind of things that America offers. There's a different vision.
Secretary Pompeo has also visited St. Anthony's Church in Kochukade, which was subject to Easter bomb attacks. US State Secretary Mike Pompeo has left for the Maldives this afternoon after ending a successful official tour.
US State Secretary says that it is not the American policy to influence Sri Lanka to accept the MCC agreement. He made these remarks in a special interview with the national television.
MCC and security agreements, another hot topic here. There were some media reports speculating that your visit is aimed to pressure Sri Lanka in this regard. Your comments, sir?
So I've actually read the Sri Lankan newspapers this morning. They mostly got the purpose of the visit wrong. Look, the MCC is one strand of an offer that we made. If the Sri Lankan people want that, great. If they choose to go another path, that's certainly fine. There are so many important things that we can work on together to make this partnership important, and for each of our two countries to be an important part of this region, which delivers on these democratic visions that we share so closely.
You had discussions with Sri Lankan leaders. What are the options to expand existing long-standing bilateral relations, especially in this pandemic era that caused heap of economic problems?
No, it's very real. This challenge from this virus that came from Wuhan, China is impacting everyone all across the world wherever I travel. No nation has been escaped this problem set. There's certainly the problem set of the health issues, but enormous economic issues. Here, tourism was greatly impacted. That's true in many parts of the world. Our mission set has been very clear with respect to this. Do our level best to address the virus, make sure we take good health, find therapeutics, do the right things inside of our own country, help others around the world, and then to just go as fast as we can to get a vaccine. And we're getting closer. I'm confident that we will ultimately get there. And when we do, we'll reduce the risk of fatality of this disease, and we can begin the hard work and the important work of getting our economies going again. You know, you asked originally about the reason for my visit. We provided about $6 million in COVID assistance to Sri Lanka. We were happy to do that. But in the end, the best thing I'm confident the United States will do for the people of Sri Lanka is that we will have more American businesses come here. We'll provide an export location. We're the largest location for Sri Lankan exports. We're proud of the fact that we buy goods, so many goods from the people of Sri Lanka, making the people of Sri Lanka lives better. But we're confident that American investment here can improve lives as well. When we show up, we hire Sri Lankans, we train Sri Lankans, we build those communities out in a way that's consistent with good business practices. This is a model that is a democratic model and one that we share.
Something that changes your life story. Litro Gas.
And we are continuing with more local stories. A quarantine curfew will be imposed on the Western Province starting midnight tomorrow till 5 a.m. on next Monday. The National Operational Centre for the Prevention of the Spread of COVID-19 says the decision has been taken on the recommendations of the Director General of Health Services. A quarantine curfew is already being implemented in 68 police divisions in the Colombo, Kaluthara, Gampaha and Kurunegala district. Although the quarantine curfew in the Western Province ends at 5 a.m. on next Monday, the quarantine curfew being enforced in police divisions will continue further notice. In areas where a quarantine curfew is presently being enforced, all shops engaged in selling essential food items and pharmacies will remain open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. tomorrow. Measures have also been taken to open shops and pharmacies in areas where quarantine curfew are being enforced only 2 days per week after the 2nd of November. Police protection in towns in the Gampaha district where a quarantine curfew in its operation has been strengthened. An operation to inspect whether business places were being maintained according to health instructions has commenced yesterday centering the Hanwala town. The program was implemented through assistance of the Medical Officer of Health, Office of Sitawaka, the Hanwala Pradesha Sabaha and the Hanwala Police Station. The Santosa marketing network has allowed opportunities for the consumers in the quarantine curfew imposed areas to purchase essential food items without a shortage.
Measures have been taken to maintain state services without obstruction in parallel to the program to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 disease. Accordingly, the Ministry of State Services, provincial councils and local government has issued today a communique comprising instructions to be followed by the heads of state institutions regarding controlling the virus expansion. It has reiterated that attention of all state officials should be focused to discharge their duties in the maximum potential. The ministry has informed all heads of government institutions to focus their attention on circulars issued by the Presidential Secretariat in this regard on the 18th of April and 14th of May of this year. Officials should be called for services and institutions should be maintained according to the circulars. It adds that all health guidelines on the government officials and the general public should be strictly adhered.
And meanwhile, the government has taken measures to maintain essential services efficiently, methodologically and continuously in the face of existing COVID-19 pandemic. A special methodology is being implemented to provide quantities of food adequate for 2 weeks to families subjected to quarantine in their homes. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Rival and Elimination of Poverty, Basil Rajapaksa, has reiterated that the relevant sections that essential services should be carried out efficiently, systematically and without obstructions at this moment when the COVID-19 disease raised its heads once again. The chairman, at a discussion at the Temple Trees yesterday, has instructed state officials in charge of essential services to prepare proper programs for continuous provisions of essential services such as electricity, water, fuel and gas. He has also reiterated on the need to maintain relevant transportation service on health facilities in this proper moment. He has also stressed that the government has taken necessary measures to consolidate security on the masses through controlling on the virus and also to supply essential services without delay. Commenting on false propaganda being carried out by certain social media, Chairman Basil Rajapaksa has pointed out that need to appreciate the commitment of security, health and administrative divisions to control the COVID-19 pandemic. Instructed have also been given at the meeting to prevent the occurrence of loss of human lives as well as to protect adult community threatened by the ongoing pandemic. Accordingly, district secretaries and the Postmaster General have been advised to hand over the public assistance and pensions to the homes of the recipients. It has also been discussed in depth on the provisions of a bag essential commodity items sufficient for 2 weeks to every family being subjected to house quarantine. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force also said that programs should be carried forward through the cooperation of district secretaries, public health inspectors, Gram Leeladaris and security divisions. Officials in charge of the provisions of electricity, water, gas, transportation and other essential services said they are ready to extend efficient service to the general public. Attention has also been focused on granting a relief period of payment for loan installments. It has also been decided to provide 5,000 rupees for the areas totally closed down for more than a week. Municipal Commission of the Colombo Municipal Council said that necessary measures have been taken to maintain hygienically and as usual the garbage disposal program in the city of Colombo. He has also pointed out that it is necessary to control the people arriving in Colombo as there is a probability on the rapid expansion of the pandemic in Colombo city. Therefore, it has been also presented to propose to President a proposal in the regard to the Ministry of Public Administration and to make way to the procedures to conduct government officials on the provincial level without obstruction. Officials of the Passenger Road Transportation Authority and the Department of Railways said that passenger transport services are being conducted maintaining distance between individuals and also according to the health guidelines. Arrivals of people to Colombo city have been reduced drastically in comparison to recent times. Chairman Basil Rajapaksa also said that restriction of travel rounds are being conducted on minimum level in the interest of student candidates of the GCE advanced level examination. He has also requested to postpone the conducting of examinations by the examination department and other relevant institutions taking into consideration of the current situation. Minister Pavitra Vanyaraji and State Minister Ajit Nivat Kapral have also attended the discussion.
Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says that the government has allocated necessary funds for the provision of 5,000 rupee allowance to the families in the Gambha district who have not yet received the allowance. 464,254 families are eligible for the aid. The government has set aside a sum of more than 2.32 billion rupees in this regard. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that the relevant payments will be made under several stages. He added that funds have been reserved according to a request made from President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and Chairman of the Economic Revival Committee Basil Rajapaksa. Gampaha District Secretary Sunil Jalat said that it would be possible to commence relevant payments by next Sunday. Handing over of 5,000 rupee allowance to 80,000 families in the police divisions of Minuangoda, Diulapiti and Veyangoda in the Gampaha district was concluded last Friday. The government has spent 400 million rupees in this connection. Allowances are to be provided to 46,008 families in Biagama, 33,849 families in Kalaniya and 46,519 families in Vattala. In addition, allowances are to be paid to 38,485 families in Nigambo and 45,503 families in Mahara as well as 32,132 families in Dumpe. In Gampaha, in the Gampaha district, 39,342 families and 45,605 families in Jayala as well as 53,581 families in Katana will be provided with the 5,000 rupee allowance. Similarly, 20,614 families in the Diulapiti division will also be paid the 5,000 rupee allowance. 30,603 families in the Attanagalla Gramaseva division will also receive the allowance. More than 6,000 families are currently undergoing quarantine in the Gampaha district. It has also been decided to provide essential food valued at 10,000 rupees to the relevant families through intervention of Chairman of the Task Force, Basil Rajapaksa.
And here's the local update of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Ministry of Health says that the number of fully recovered COVID-19 patients has increased to 4,075. The highest number of PCR tests conducted in Sri Lanka within a day was recorded yesterday. The number amounted to 10,740. Deputy Director General of Health Services Hemantha Herath says that the rapidity in the detection of patients commenced from the Minuangoda area has fallen to an extremely low level. 211 COVID-19 infected patients were detected in the island today. 202 patients out of this number were found among associates of the victims. The other 9 persons were reported from quarantine centers. Funeral of the 17th patient died due to the COVID-19 disease was conducted at the Kolonava General Cemetery today. He has passed away while undergoing treatment at the IDH Hospital, Angoda. The deceased was a 41-year-old resident in Jayala. Those undergoing quarantine at the quarantine centers are scheduled to be subjected to quarantine in their residences after conducting PCR tests. A team under the leadership of an Assistant Superintendent of Police and also under the supervision of Director of the Colombo Crimes Division has been appointed to investigate on the spread of the COVID-19 disease at the Brandix Institute. It has been decided to temporarily close down the Megoda Economic Centre with effect from today till the 2nd of next month. The reason being the affliction of COVID-19 to one of those engaged in trading at the centre. It has also been reported that 3 of his family members, chief cashier, a lorry driver and an assistant attached to the centre were also infected with the COVID-19 disease. The Rekilagaskada Base Hospital, which was closed down due to an officer of the hospital afflicted of COVID-19, was reopened today. The hospital has been subjected to sterilisation and function according to special health protection methods. PCR tests were conducted on a group of COVID-19 associates and employees of the Gulf Fisheries Harbour today. The Korean organization has donated protective health equipment valued at 2.2 million rupees to the COVID-19 control program of Sri Lanka. President of the organization, Cheo Sung-bong, and Secretary Lasitha Nanayakara have handed over the equipment to Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi at the Health Ministry.
Now to take a look at the global situation of the coronavirus pandemic. Antibodies against the novel coronavirus declined rapidly in the British population during this summer, a study found yesterday, suggesting protection after infection may not be long-lasting and raising the prospect of waning immunity in the community.
A new study suggests that the antibodies a person develops for protection after a coronavirus infection may not last long, raising the prospect that a population's collective immunity to the disease would only be fleeting. Scientists at Imperial College London tracked antibody levels in the British population following the first wave of coronavirus infections in March and April, and discovered they declined rapidly over the summer. Graham Cook is a professor of infectious diseases at Imperial.
So the main change we saw between these 3 rounds of the survey was that the proportion of people testing positive fell from 6% in the end of June and July through to August, where it was 4.8%, and then 4.4% in September. So although those changes sound quite small, because of the numbers of people involved, we can be pretty confident that this is a real change. But overall, it doesn't change the fact that actually 90% plus of the general population is still susceptible to infection.
The news comes as much of the world is experiencing a second wave of infections, forcing local lockdowns and restrictions, and the Northern Hemisphere readies for winter. The colder weather means more people will be socialising and congregating indoors, where the risk of infection grows. The study has not yet been peer-reviewed. Natural immunity to the novel coronavirus is a complex and murky area as well. But researchers do say the experience of other coronaviruses also suggests that immunity might not be enduring. Those whose infection was confirmed with a gold standard PCR test had a less pronounced decline in antibodies, compared to people who had been asymptomatic and unaware of their original infection. There was no change in the levels of antibodies seen in healthcare workers, which could be due to repeated exposure to the virus. Similar findings have been discovered in Germany, which showed the vast majority of people did not have antibodies even in coronavirus hotspots, and that antibodies might fade in those who do.
From United Kingdom to Canada, as cases rise in Canada, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau offers a blunt assessment of global health crisis and predicts a tough winter ahead.
We are in an unprecedented global pandemic that really sucks.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's blunt assessment of the global health crisis came on Tuesday as Canada approaches 10,000 deaths from COVID-19. And with cases continuing to rise, Trudeau predicts a tough winter ahead with more lockdown restrictions needed.
It's easy for us to want to throw up our hands. I think we have to ask ourselves who we really are as Canadians. Are we really good neighbors? Are we really people who care about the most vulnerable, about each other? I know we are.
On Monday, Canada reported more than 4,000 new cases, prompting Quebec province to extend a shutdown of bars, gyms and restaurant dining rooms in hotspots like Montreal. Alberta has also limited social gatherings to 15 people, and there are similar restrictions in British Columbia. Trudeau made clear the measures could last until Christmas, and said his son feared they would last forever.
And it's frustrating knowing that unless we're really careful, there may not be the kinds of family gatherings we want to have at Christmas. My 6-year-old asked me a few weeks ago, "Dad, is COVID-19 forever?"
Canadians are used to Trudeau taking a more upbeat tone. His comments mark a rare show of emotion and frustration. They're also in stark contrast to other world leaders such as US President Donald Trump, who have sought to downplay the pandemic.
Taking a look at more local stories, it has been revealed before the Presidential Commission inquiring into political victimization that leading politicians have created an impact on investigations conducted by the Police Financial Crime Investigation Division. Former senior DIG Ravi Vaidyalankara made these remarks giving evidence before the Commission today. DIG Vaidyalankara has handed over to the Commission a confidential report including names of those who had influenced him to make arrests with regard to investigations conducted against the Rajapaksas. However, he added that some of those whose names were included in the lists are fully armed. He said that there would have been threats on his life if he disclosed their names. He also said that all complaints were directed to the IGP and investigations were carried out under his approval. He also said that he did not attempt to arrest President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was preparing to contest during the presidential election as there was no evidence against him. A video of former IGP Pujit Jayasundara was played before the Commission. It showed how the former IGP informing FCID chief not to arrest Anilame. He also said that he had always consulted the Attorney General before arresting a person. He had admitted that he had attended the meetings held in the presence of Rajat Senaratne, Sarath Fonseca, Champika Ranavaka, Malik Samaravikrama and Anura Kumar Desanayaka at the Temple Trees. Attorney at law appearing on behalf of Dr. Nihal Jayatilaka has questioned the witness regarding whether he had made any clarifications on the political groups connected to the issue. He has responded saying that the opinions have been expressed regarding the progress of the Divinagama inquiry before the Anti-Fraud Committee. DIG Vidyalankara also said that it has been revealed in the inquiry regarding MiG aircraft deal that present President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had no connection with the deal. Former Secretary to the Ministry of Economic Development, Dr. Nihal Jayatillaka, said that FCID officials had questioned him targeting Basil Rajapaksa. He also said that the FCID officials had acted in a biased manner and arrested him on the 22nd of April 2015.
And meanwhile, it has been revealed before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into his attacks yesterday on the rented house of Paratha Road, Sirikamulla, Panadura, used as a safe house by the suicide bombers of the Easter attack. Owner of the rented house, ASM Ilham, was convened before the commission, giving evidence. He said that he has entered into a legal agreement to rent the house to a person named Mohammed Assam Mohammed Mubarak, who was the suicide bomber of the Kingsbury Hotel on the 13th of February last year. He added that keys of the house were handed over to him after receiving a preliminary payment of 480,000 rupees, which was one of the year's rents. The witness has also identified a photograph of Mubarak shown by the state attorney. The witness further said that when he went to inspect the house 1 month later, he did not see Mubarak but only a witness of the rent agreement named Rikshan worshipping the deities. He further said that around 4 p.m. on the day of the terror attack, Muslim youth came and told him that his house was cordoned by the army. The Presidential Commission has also commenced inquiring Chief Police Inspector Nalini Disanayanka of the CID, who has conducted further investigations on the terrorist safe house in Panadura. Disanayanka said upon inspection of the house, they have found ball parts of bicycles, several battery boxes, circuits and aluminium material, among many other items. The search operation has enabled to uncover details on many locations visited by the bombers prior to the attacks. Pictures of Kingsbury Hotel bomber Mohammed Azam Mohammed Mubarak and attack of the Katoapite Church Muhammadu Hastun were recorded in the CCTV cameras. Similar pictures have been recorded in 2 suicide bombers entering a supermarket complex in Gorakana on the 10th April last year. Chief Inspector Disanayanka also said that Mohammed Azam Mohammed Mubarak and Muhammadu Hastun has purchased 10 backpacks of 50-litre capacity from a private shop in Batramulla on the 11th of April last year. The investigations of the recipients of the detected at the Paratha Road house had further revealed that items used only by Muslim nationals have been purchased on the 18th of April last year. They included 8 shalwars worn by male Muslims. According to a video tapping conducted by terrorists in an apartment complex in Mount Lavinia, a day prior to these attacks, these shalwars has been used to car heads and faces. A rented lorry had carried goods to a house of terrorist associates inside the Mardu on the 20th of April. The suicide bombers has reached the Shangri-La Hotel around 7:56 p.m. on the 20th of April. Nalini Disanayanka further stated that it has been found in the investigations that attack of the Cinnamon Grand Hotel Muhammad Ibrahim Insaf Ahmed and attack of the Kingsbury Hotel Muhammad Mubarak had left the Paratha Road residence around 8:12 p.m. on the 20th of April. The Presidential Commission had decided yesterday to temporarily suspend inquiring evidence due to the expansion of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Special programs are underway to direct rural sportsmen and women towards victories in national and international levels. Sports Minister Namal Rajapaksa was engaged on a special observation tour in the Polonnaruwa district today to look into these issues. The ultimate objective is to uplift sports in extremely remote areas by giving relevant facilities to sports personnel. During the minister's tour, discussions were conducted on problems confronted by sports training officials and teachers engaged in sports-related activities in schools in the Polonnaruwa district. Minister Namal Rajapaksa, at the meeting conducted at the Polonnaruwa district secretariat, said that it is aimed to turn youth into entrepreneurs through the field of sports. The minister was also engaged in fact-finding tours at the Deepaviyana Park in Polonnaruwa and also at the Galliella National Stadium.
And with that, we conclude tonight news. Do it just tomorrow at the very same time. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.